I told you I'd get it fixed. It just took me a second. All right, it is 10:04 a.m. and we are going to call this meeting to order on April 6, 2021. Our first order of business is we have a department update report from Public Works Director, County Engineer Gordy Kelsey. Gordy, take us away.
All right, couple items on your consent agenda. First is item number 6, and that's executing a contract for our 2021 liquid asphalt purchase for our seal coating of our roads this summer. Item number 7 is executing a small works contract. This is our rebid on the Roosevelt grade drainage. We had to go back out to add, and we rebid it, and it actually came in a little bit less than the first time. And that's on your agenda to award.
I like that.
Yeah.
Maybe we just tell them no the first time all the time and make them do it again, and they go, oh, maybe we'll lower it.
This is the first time it's been low.
It's usually the other way?
Yes, yes. Item number 8 is executing a contract and bonds for the Old Mountain Road project with Grade Works. Then we have one payment approval, and that's to the Justice Systems, and those are the guys working on the jail control board. And it's in the amount of $38,050.26. Nothing new on the striping contract. They'll probably get started in May sometime if the weather stays like this, and maybe even sooner, but they have to order paint, so that's, I think, the issue right now. Road design, Courtney Road, we still have the one right-of-way outstanding that we have to purchase. We've got some advice from the PA's office, and we actually got contacted back from the property owner, and I'm not sure if we're moving, but at least we're talking again, so that's good. And nothing else. We're still waiting on our deviation from WashDOT. We haven't heard anything, but I think they're having their own struggles with not being in the office, all working from home still. Let's see, SDP paving project, still waiting to hear back from WashDOT for our approval for construction funding. And the grant funded safety projects, we're just waiting on those. Those are out. So they'll be constructed this summer. Maintenance side, Bickleton, Goldendale, they're grading per service requests. We had stockpiled fill material on the northwest corner of our property where we store all of our maintenance equipment, and the plan was there was a start of a berm there, and so we're extending that. So now we've been stockpiling material from some of our projects there, and so now we're shaping up a berm to kind of block the view of our neighbors' property.
Have they complained, or are you just being neighborly?
No, it's a lot of stuff on the lot next door, and so it'll screen that out. I think we're good, and our stuff's kind of neatly stacked, but it'll just help kind of clean things up and hide the other things out. Yeah. Let's see. They're also I think they're about done with the quarries, so hopefully we're reclaimed some of those and we can actually get those off the books. White Salmon crew, they're hauling rock, and they have a place on Old Highway 8 they're going to ditch where our water isn't moving. It's just kind of pooling, can't get to the culvert because of the trees that have grown up right in the ditch over time. And then they're also getting ready to start crack sealing next week on the west side. The new building, windows, trying to get the rest of the windows in. They're really close. The bricklayers are more than halfway up on the south side. And then they've also expanded their scaffolding around the west or the east side. And so they're working their way up on two sides now again. And I think this week, the end of this week or first part of next week. And I think they're trying to get done because space will become a premium. Next week, they want to start the street work on Court Street. And so they'll start with the drainage work on the north side of Court, and they'll close off, and it'll be restricted to one lane heading eastbound. And that's for the fire department's request. And then we had planned and scheduled a permanent closure when they finish the work on the north side, all the drainage and the curb gutter and sidewalk. Then they'll move over and close the rest of the road and start tearing out the curb and gutter and sidewalk and redoing that. And then the plan is to do the courthouse parking lot starting the 1st of June. So we talked about parking getting worse. That's when it'll really be noticeable to everybody.
2 questions.
Yes.
When you take out sidewalk, curb, all that kind of stuff, is this the builder doing that, or are we doing that?
The builder's doing that.
Second question, when we talk about parking, have we reached out to our sheriff department, see if they can remove some of the vehicles that don't run from around the perimeter to make a few more spots?
Yeah, we've talked to them before. We got them cleaned out and then they kind of collected again. So we'll be talking to them again. There's probably about 4 or 5 that could go. And we have space at the fairgrounds, and now they have room out at off of South Columbus. Yeah. So there are places to put them that would definitely help. We're also working to, we have the hazardous materials in the gray building. So we got a contract together right now to get somebody to remove those. And then once that's done, our crews are going to then crunch up the gray house and haul it off. And then we'll regrade all of that property so we can get temporary parking. And our goal is to get it done before they start out here in front. So we'll have almost replaced all of this with what we're putting in over there. So we're pushing to do that. But it still will be tougher. It'll be a little farther from the building. And then we may want to look at, not having employees park along Allen Street.
Right.
So that saves some close parking for the public to the front of the courthouse.
So is the whole courthouse lot going to be stripped at the exact same time? I mean, do we need to think about handicap spacing right outside the door over here or something? I mean, the ramp's over here. And
yeah, so we already have the issue because we're rebuilding the ramp. So and what we've done in the past when we couldn't get in this ramp was to take people through the basement. So we'll likely set up an ADA spot in the sheriff's lot or that small lot, and then take people that need that kind of help through the basement into the elevator that way.
Because I was asked about the handicap spot, so that answers it.
Yeah. So it'll be a challenge. And then I handed out the schedule. And one of the things, because I was just trying to get an idea on their a simple schedule with their work on the street work. And this is the entire project schedule. So not that helpful unless you want to spend a lot of time looking at it. And Jake, I'll have Mark send a copy of this. I apologize I didn't send it to you. But I flipped immediately to the end to see if things have changed, and they're still showing us finishing the 1st of October. So that's good news, because that means we're on target. They might have even caught up a bit. So where they lost a few weeks last summer because of COVID and material and equipment. I think the factory that made all those cross-laminated timber panels broke down. They had to get parts from somewhere in Europe. So they lost some time, but I think looks like they've made it up, which
how is that going to work with move-in? I mean, if they're done 1st of October, when are all these moving over there? When are everybody going to officially be over there? How long after construction before that happens?
Yeah, so that next month, so October, is probably going to be 4 to 6 weeks of us, the furniture installer, installing, putting everything together. And then that'll give us time to get everybody packed up and ready to move. So as soon as they start releasing floors, the furniture's done, we'll start moving those people. Yeah. Yep. As soon as we can, we'll start moving them. But anyway, that's good news. So kind of coinciding with that, we have the courthouse entry work, which rebuilds all the entries and the ramp, the east entrance and the south entrance. And so Jeff's contractor to do that is going to try and start maybe toward the end of this month.
The end of April.
They have a pre-con on the 19th. And so we want to get them, it'd be good to get the east side done before our contractor starts tearing things up, because that'll just complicate each of their work areas if we don't do that. So, and then they'll move to the north, finish the ramp, and then head to the south side of the building. Jail control board still working through the punch list items, and a couple of those doors that don't have the door indicator switch is working right yet. Radio sites?
Just working on trying to locate somebody to buy the property at Sadis and moving ahead, working on the design for Klickitat.
So last night, and this has come up in Lyle before too, request for lighted speed limit signs. So WashDOT allows these. The Hewsome community has been working with WashDOT to reduce and address speeds through Hewsome, where they have the rafting and the kayaker takeout basically. And it gets pretty congested in the summer months when they're pretty actively using that takeout, and both by the public viewing and the people doing the rafting. And one of the things besides reducing the speed is these lighted speed limit signs. And WashDOT allows it, but they don't pay for it. And what they do is they kind of put it back on the community to cover the cost for installation. And then typically it's the agency, whether it's a small city or a county in this case, have to pay for the ongoing maintenance costs. And so that issue came up. I think the community is really interested. The cost for the installation is $20,000 to $30,000 from what WashDOT said, because some of them, they come with solar power capabilities. In this case, because of the amount of trees and just the geography there, that wouldn't work. So they have to be connected to power. So you have to have a service, and the maintenance cost or electrical cost, is going to be, about whatever that is. So it's the cost for the electrical service and the monthly bill, which, guessing maybe about $50 a month, which is $600 a year. So that's, I think, something that the board will want to talk about and consider, because I'm sure the community will ask for that. And WashDOT kind of suggested that there may be grants available for these lighted speed limit signs, but our experience has been it's difficult to get grants for these unless there's certain categories. So school zones, areas where there's high numbers of pedestrians, because you're competing with everybody in the state. And so while during the summer months it's busy with pedestrians, it's still challenging to get grants. I think the one source might be the Traffic Safety Commission, but some of the other sources through WashDOT, our experience has been we don't have the numbers, and it's a numbers game. You have to have enough people and cars, because fortunately we don't have that problem here, but unfortunately for grants, it makes it tough to get them. So I think getting the $20,000 to $30,000 for the installation may be a challenge as well. I mean, we'll look to see what's available, and I think there were even some of the community members that asked if they could contribute. So some of the businesses that were there, you know, hey, can we contribute? I think WashDOT for them, it's, they have a really rigid box that they're in, and they do really well with those items. But things that are outside of that, like the community or private business wanting to help pay for a project, they struggle with that because it's not something they do a lot, but you know, we have that ability to do that.
But if we're, right, that's what my question, I guess, if we're funding it, we have that ability to do a
Yeah,
50-50 cost share or something.
yeah, we just write an agreement and they're a partner in the
Where in
project.
Lyle have they been asking for this, might I ask?
On 14.
Right by the sandbar or?
Well, where the speed limit reduction happens, that's where they had asked for it. So, but this was probably a couple of years ago, 2-3 years
I
ago.
haven't heard of that one, so.
Yeah, it's been a while, but they didn't pursue it because it's difficult to get the initial installation.
Right.
So, and Jake, I don't know if you have more to add to that?
Not right now. Thank you, Gordy, for showing up to the meeting last night. That was really helpful. It was good for everybody to hear it. I know that for a long time, the state said, no way, we aren't going to be doing those speed signs. But in the last couple of years, they've kind of changed their tone, which is great because I know other places in the county are still interested in these as well.
Yeah, I think there'll be some benefit, but I think unless they do, they talked about this, some physical change, you know, and whether that's, you know, kind of narrowing it with curb, gutter, and sidewalk and defining the access points. There'll be a limit on how much they can reduce the speed of people actually traveling through there without having a state patrolman sitting there. And that's the challenge when other areas where I've had where speeding was a problem through neighborhoods and things, until we did some physical change, you can't change people's behavior. And they kind of went over that a bit last night. Okay. We also have typically we fill up until last summer temporary in buildings and grounds. So we budget for that. Last year we didn't bring anybody on because we didn't have events at the fairgrounds and we didn't have fair, and so there was really no need. But this year we're actually having events and people schedule events, and there'll be some kind of a fair at the fairgrounds. We'll wait and see what happens, but we would like to bring on that temporary to help us out through the summer months with buildings and grounds.
Mr. Anderson, do you have a problem with that?
Of course not.
I don't either.
All right, thank you. Oregon Trail Rally, they have requested and actually sent out letters to the public for those routes that we talked about. Kind of near Lyle, outside of Lyle, north of there. And we got back one comment so far on the route, the leg that's Fisher Hill to Johnson Road, by one of the property owners that has a ranch and runs cattle. And they were strongly concerned that they didn't want to see it go forward in this area. And so I asked them to reach out to the organizer of the event, and because the people doing the event try and mitigate for whatever issues, and then get back to me and let me know whether they reached some kind of an agreement or they were still a strong no. So I just wanted to bring you up to speed because I know a couple of years ago we had Rock Creek was a route or a leg that they ran several years, but eventually the ranchers out there just didn't want it anymore. They thought it was more of a hassle for them, and we told them they couldn't have that leg. So just
one squeaky wheel is not squeaky enough for me.
okay.
More than one squeaky wheel for me to care.
Okay. All right, so just giving you a heads up.
Yep.
Development standards. So update on development standards. Let's see, April 22nd, Jeff has scheduled his first meeting with the group. And it's kind of the kickoff meeting. And I was hoping that maybe we might have 15 minutes extra on one of our mornings, Tuesday mornings, to kind of bring you up. We had done a kind of a basic, here are the things that Jeff and I have seen over the years that are issues that we think need to be addressed, and what options might be available just on those basic items. And I think a lot of people have bumped into those, like easement widths and road widths, where I'm only adding, it's a 2-lot short plat. Do I have to have a 20-foot road? And so those are the kind of things that we run into a lot. And so we just want to cover just those basic things we talked about. We've gone over, it's been a year and over a year, because it was before COVID, just to kind of go over that stuff again with you guys and kind of give you an update and let you know where you're at. Because if you weren't there, and I know Jake wasn't, but you might have.
You might have been, I don't know.
Yeah.
Trying to give the history of Title 12, how it got started, why it got started.
Yeah.
Is that for next week?
If you got 15 extra minutes, that'd be great.
Work it in.
Thank you. And then the last thing, so there's, somebody wants to rent the poultry building, in the resolution 12019 sets the fees for the poultry building, and it's a daily rate. So there's no hourly rate. A lot of our other facilities have hourly rates, and we don't for this building. Somebody wants to rent it for a meeting for an hour. We'd like to be able to do that. Dividing the daily cost up by 8 hours gives us about $15 an hour. We would like permission to charge $15 an hour for that building.
Is that adequate to pay for staff to unlock, lock, clean up?
In this case, yes. That usually we require a 2-hour minimum,
Right.
and that usually covers all of our costs that we might have.
Mr. Anderson?
So the 2-hour minimum, is that on all the other buildings?
Yes. Yeah, the other ones we rent by the hour, there's a 2-hour minimum.
And so what would be special about this one that we wouldn't do a 2-hour minimum?
We just wanted to be able to charge them an hourly rate, and if we want to set the 2-hour minimum, we can do that. We just don't have an hourly rate that was set by resolution by the board. So we can set it as $15 an hour with a 2-hour minimum.
Yeah, let's make sure that it follows what all the other buildings have.
Okay.
I agree.
We'll do that, and that request will be in your box then next week for signature. And that's it for our list of items.
Any questions?
I don't have anything else for him. Do you, Dan?
I don't either.
All right. Well, that was quick. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, thank you.
Go forth and do good work.
We will.
I'm gonna have to get used to that thing, aren't I?
Yeah, of course you're going to have to get used to him doing good work.
Well,
You have been for a long time.
Get used to saying it.
All right. Next up and on time, we have our auditor, Brenda Sorensen, for the office update. Brenda, you want to come forward? After Ibby sprays the table off, of course.
Yeah.
You're too quick.
We'll wait until she's done, you know?
Yes. You'll sit when it'll be wet.
Light day today, we only have 19 people on.
Email. Okay, I have some other things that I've written on the side here. So with our elections, we're mailing ballots out tomorrow for the Glenwood Fire District's election. The Uocava ballots were mailed the 26th of March, and we were doing this election all in-house rather than sending it off to our contractor that we do for countywide elections. Also, I've been working with IT. I have a little bit of money left for my elections that I can use for my COVID money. And we're working on securing the equipment for a kiosk in the office so people can register to vote at that there, and an AV system. It's not a fancy one, but one that people can watch election processing and the canvassing board and such.
Oh,
So
okay.
we're hoping the canvassing board. Right now it's aimed mainly at the staff doing their work. So we'll see what that progresses into, but that has to be completed by the end of June. Finance, we're working on the annual report. Contractors are going to be on site. Teresa and Katrina will be here May 5th through 7th in my office, working on finalizing the annual report so we have a timely filing. Not really anything too new in accounts payable or payroll. Licensing, thankfully with the soft opening, we've been steady with sporadic bursts of customers. Most have been respectful of our occupancy limit and face mask requirements. However, this week, and it's only Tuesday and last Friday, we've begun getting quite the lines in the hallway. So they're respecting the 3-person minimum in the office for the most part. We've had to remind a few. Thinking about relocating the sign on the door so it's like, yeah, hit you.
Is there a window on that door? I don't remember.
Yeah, it's covered with posters right now.
Signs, yeah, so they can't see if there's more than 3 in there.
Yeah, they can. Yeah, yep.
Has everybody been orderly, not mean and
Oh,
mouthy?
only over fees and such like that, usual stuff.
Okay.
So nobody's been, saying they're not going to wear a mask or they're not going to observe the 3 people. And I don't count kids, no, ma'am, you have to leave your child in the hall and come in. So I know that's ridiculous. So there's not, oh yeah, that I covered that. So nothing really new in recording. The number of recordings they're increasing all the time. And the VSO continues to work with our veterans. Some are still working remotely, others are in person. The office is going to be closed the 22nd through the 30th. And Bill gave a presentation yesterday to the American Legion here in Goldendale. They invited him to come. Did you attend that?
I did not.
Okay.
I forgot about it. Totally.
Okay. He said it went really well. He covered how we work as a team. This is not just about him. This takes everybody to make this thing roll correctly. Covered everything from indigents all the way up to federal VA. He said it was very well received, and I'm sure if you're interested in a presentation, commissioners, you could talk to him. Presentation, but an overview of his presentation.
Did he mention how many people were there?
He said about 15 or so. There wasn't a huge crowd, but
Right.
he received a lot of good questions, and he will be seeing a few more people, new customers, new clients. So, and do you have anything? Yeah. Questions?
Nothing?
Nothing. We go over this together.
Mr. Anderson?
Yeah, I have no questions. Actually, Brenda, for doing this election in-house for 358 voters, how much do you figure that cost us?
I'll be able to tell you once Brandy does the billing. What happens is Fire 8's going to pay the whole bill.
Oh, they are.
We have to wait till the election.
How much are they trying to raise with it?
I don't remember without looking at the ballot proposition. It's the same one that
Okay.
they submitted before, and it there was a glitch somehow, and the assessor not getting the, I don't think the information was presented, so it could be included on the levy for this year.
Got it. Okay,
This being,
that was my only question.
yep, okay, I guess we're done. You know where we're at if you have
All
more.
right.
Okay?
Thank you both.
Yeah,
Have a great day.
you
Go forth and
too.
do good work, right, Jay?
You're stealing it.
I didn't even have to say it. I already taught Dan to.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, ladies.
All right. Next up, we have Ruby with our solid waste department.
Ruby, you need to unmute yourself.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I'm going to try and keep this kind of short and sweet. So just a quick update with the litter crew program. We're currently organizing a Secure Your Load event for June 12th. I believe right now we're looking at the Grange and the Grange here in Goldendale and the high school over in White Salmon for the event. Ecology will be supplying us with the cargo nets to give out to the residents that sign up for the online or sign up for the event online. And they're also supplying the messaging and the online sign up. Details are still kind of hazy right now. We're still working all of the details out because this is a pilot program. So stay tuned, there's more to come. Also, our bidder reporting feature on our webpage is up and running, and we're still trying to work out the bugs with how to maintain some cohesiveness between me and my litter crew supervisor to make sure that people are being contacted after the litter's been picked up. The other problem too is that there are some people within the city limits that have put in reports, and there is a lot of litter within the city of Goldendale. And unfortunately, right now we're not able to pick up litter in the city. So we're going to try and figure out what we can do to fix that, whether it's some kind of public outreach or some kind of resident groups that can go through and pick up litter, but we'll come up with something. And then Ecology is sending someone down tomorrow to put Dawn through some training on picking up litter from state highways. That can be pretty problematic, as I'm sure you guys know. People like to speed on those highways, and to try to have a litter crew or even a juvenile crew out there can be pretty dangerous. So he's going to learn some new tricks and tips for the trade. In the recycling program, we're currently getting the Recollect program up and running to give residents the ability to interface with our office and interface with the recycling program, and also to know what's recyclable and what's not. It will give them an app. We're currently waiting for the PA to look over that contract so that we can get that going as well. And as I'm sure some of you know, recycling has not been easy lately. And just as a side note, there was an article in the Rural Light magazine that came out about, can I recycle that? And I haven't spoken to the editor or the writer of that article yet, but a lot of the information in there is incorrect and not appropriate for our county. So there's a lot of confusion with recycling. I think this app will be very helpful for our residents to be able to figure out what's truth and what's not. And then the paint care program is also creating difficulty and confusion to a number of solid waste programs around the state. And unfortunately, we're one of them. Due to legislation, we will no longer get grant funding to pay for the disposal cost of paint. And we either need to enter into a contract with paint care or pay the cost of disposal, which is pretty problematic considering it's the majority of the money that we spend on disposal and ranges in the thousands. So anyway, I'm still trying to work that out, and I will make sure to give you guys an update on that after I've spoken with Ecology some more, paint care, and Republic Services. So speaking of Republic Services, just to put it back on the radar, or to continue to keep it on the radar, there's been discussions about restructuring Chapter 12 and how the host fee is calculated, and also to keep on the radar at our quarterly update at the end of April. Republic Services would like to present Jim and Rex with awards for their commitment to the ongoing relationship that we've had with them to thank them for their service. So, and then in terms of the budget and the quarterly numbers, I haven't gotten those tonnages yet. So as soon as I do, I will send them your way. Any questions?
Dan, do you have any questions?
I do not.
Okay, I do. Ruby, how many people have filled out your new online form for litter?
I have not calculated that number, but I would say at least 12.
Okay, and I was asked to let you know from the Houston-BZ Community Council last night that they wanted to say thank you for cleaning up along Highway 141. I was the one that submitted the request for one of our residents, and that resident was very happy that you guys were out there so soon and got everything cleaned up. So thank you very much, and
Very
I'm
welcome.
glad to see it's working.
Yeah, it does kind of, it concerns me a little because with the people here in town or into the cities like Bingen and White Salmon, it's very difficult to tell them that we can't pick that up because our grant doesn't really pay for that right now. But it will give us a stepping off point to try to work with the cities to get some kind of litter control going. So.
And so that was where I was going to go next on that. So right now, are you just sending a message to them saying, I've forwarded your request to the city manager and it'd be a good idea for you to follow up with them?
Yeah, I need to schedule an appointment with Larry. So at least here in Goldendale so that I can have a conversation on how we can deal with that. But unfortunately, the people that have sent in those requests, requested not to be contacted, so I don't know how to deal with that. So like if they ask not to be contacted, I can't really contact them and say, hey, we got your request, however we can't honor it. And
Okay, so but the best we can do is talk to Larry and say, here's what complaints we've got within your area. In the history, have we ever done any cleanup within the cities?
Not really.
Okay. Is there any statute or anything that doesn't allow us to do it?
Just that our grant doesn't really pay for that. It pays for the county roads and, state roads.
Okay, but it does pay for state roads as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that was my only question. Thank you, Ruby.
You betcha. You guys have a good day.
You too.
You as well. All right. Dan, do you have anything else before we break for lunch?
I do not. Commissioner? Actually.
All right.
Rob's here, wants to comment.
Morning, Commissioner.
Okay. Good morning, sir.
Morning. Lindsay Garcia has accepted a job with the Public Works Department. So I'm asking for verbal permission to post a clerical administrative assistant 1 or 2 for the HR department.
You've got my authorization.
You've got mine too.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. All right. Well, I don't see anybody else in the room unless they're out of the video. So with that, we will break for the lunch hour and be back at 1 o'clock.
Works for me.
All right. Thank you, everyone. O'clock, we are going to call the regular business meeting of the Klickitat County Commissioners to order. First off, we're going to do a roll call, and we have Commissioner Anderson here via Zoom, and Commissioner Christopher is in the Commissioner Chambers, and Commissioner Sauter is on vacation this week. We need to approve the business agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the business agenda as presented.
I will step down and second the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, we're going to move on to the approval of the commission meeting minutes from March 23rd and March 30th, 2021.
Do you want to do these without Dave here? And if he has concern, we can always amend them?
I don't mind us moving forward with them. Did you see any issues?
I didn't. So
Okay.
I would make a motion that we approve the commissioner meeting minutes for March 23rd, 2021 and March 30th, 2021 as presented.
I will step down and second the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those signify by saying aye.
Right?
Aye. Motion carries. We will now move into citizen comment. Comments will be limited to 7 minutes per individual, and we will be done at 1:30 p.m. If you would like to comment and you're on a phone call, you can unmute yourself by pressing *6, or if you are on Zoom, you can raise your hand and we will call upon you. Is there anybody who would like to give us any public comment?
There is one phone that has unmuted. The last 4 is 7211.
Good afternoon. This is Greg Wagner, 303 Fish Hatchery, Goldendale, Washington.
Good.
I received an email today from Dan Christopher answering some of my questions concerning the upcoming public hearings, and I have some concerns about that. I feel as though all 22,000 plus citizens in the county need to be notified of these public hearings so they have an opportunity to voice their concerns to the commissioners. Failing to contact all 22,000 just denies these people of their ability to talk to the commissioners and relay their concerns about the encroaching solar. And you guys want to have it in the chambers, and that's too small of a venue for possibly hundreds of people, citizens, to show up and want to voice their concerns. You can't have one person in the chambers talking while there's hundreds of them out in the hallway or maybe out of the building, and they're wanting to hear what that person has to say. So you need to find a place that all the citizens can be there and hear what everybody's having to say. And we need to notify them all, and we need to do it by a bulk mailing so every citizen in the county knows that these hearings are going to be on May 4th and whatever times you've decided. We can't just allow just a few people in the county to be notified. That's unfair to the rest of the citizens, because we've been in White Salmon and people over there are concerned about the solar and they want to have something to say. But if you don't notify them, they don't get to come to the meetings. So this is unfair to the citizens. That's all I have to say. I hope you decide to do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. Do we have anybody else wishing to make a public comment? I see Craig Stevens has turned on his video. You're on mute, Craig. Oh, Craig doesn't want to speak, it looks like. Still on mute, Craig.
4901.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is Sherry Bosque, 120 Houston Street, Houston, Washington. And we had a community council meeting last night. As we know, Commissioner Anderson's on our community council, and I was attempting to talk about the moratorium and, you know, not ever going through a moratorium with the county before and knowing anything about a moratorium. I was hoping that the citizens who are on this call can have a little bit of better understanding of what the May 4th public hearing is intended to accomplish and what its purpose is for decisions in the county. Last night, Commissioner Anderson stated that it was only to decide if a moratorium was warranted as an emergency for our county, and that we needed to, you know, be educated on what we talk about at this May 4th public hearing, because not everything will be, I guess, matter or shouldn't be talked about. So if the commissioners could inform the citizens, what is it your purpose of this May 4th hearing is, what you would like to hear from the citizens, and we can maybe prepare ourselves and know what you're looking to hear from us. I mean, is it true? Is it just a decision to decide if you'll go forward with a moratorium, or is it to discuss whether or not the citizens believe solar ordinance for the county is in order? So can I get some clarification on what the purpose is?
Thank you for your comment, Sherry. I think what we will do is during the board pending, we will try to ask Mochi to speak to what exactly is to be allowed during the hearing for public comment on the moratorium to help give some clarification if that works for you.
Well, actually, the commissioners are holding this public hearing for a decision I'm assuming the commissioners will make. Do the commissioners know what your intention or purpose of this hearing will be? Is it just to see if you'll move forward, if you'll continue to have a moratorium, or is it to decide if the commissioners feel the county should develop solar ordinances?
Mr. Vice Chairman, this is staff.
Yes, ma'am.
I believe that the public notice is going, if the purpose is to receive testimony, that is the purpose. At that time, the board may not make a decision. You may continue the public hearing. But I would definitely concur with having the planning director in on the discussion to advise.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm looking forward to further clarification. So citizens know what the commissioners would like to hear from us. And that, I think that makes a huge difference in how successful this public hearing will be. From what I understand, the county doesn't have a whole lot of moratoriums. So I feel that this is a very significant county. And again, I am grateful that the county has decided to do this so we can look at the solar, look at the solar ordinances. And also I would agree with Greg Wagner that a bulk mailing to all citizens would be appropriate for notification, since a moratorium is such a large, concerning, not done often in the county. So I would consider it kind of an important situation, and it does affect all the county, not just certain areas of the county. So I'm not sure what a bulk mailing would look like, a postcard to all the citizens, or each mailing address, kind of like maybe voting addresses or so on, could be used. But again, I would like to request that the county seriously consider the importance of this matter and consider probably a low cost to inform all the citizens. And I look forward to clarification on what you're looking for on May 4th. So thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, Sherry. Does anybody else have public comment?
4901 has their hand raised. That's the last 4 digits.
4901.
I'm sorry. I pressed the wrong buttons on my phone. I meant to mute myself.
I thought it sounded familiar. Does anybody else have any public comment?
Lauren's unmuted.
Mr. Migger is unmuted.
Lauren?
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that we have an opportunity to look at all sides of the solar issue. I think that there's a lot of economic opportunity here. Someone with 3 kids growing up in the community, it's good to see some good paying technical jobs come into Klickitat County. And also just thinking about the tax revenue that can be generated, the potential to help fund hospital, school improvements. I know we need an extra ambulance in the community to help cover all of the county. Some of these items are things that are going to be set aside if we don't pursue the solar. And also I think there's a lot of value in working with the landowners and the solar companies through the county, because I believe there's a state pathway for them to get this license and approved. But I'm not fully informed on that. So I would defer to others on that. But I think that we definitely don't want to see this see the county circumvented if there's other ways to have these projects permitted. So just making sure that we get accurate information on both sides of the discussion, I think would be very valuable. Something I look forward to seeing.
Thank you, Mr. Mager. Does anybody else have public comment? Dan, are you seeing anybody else?
Nope.
They aren't popping up to the front of mine.
The sheriff came in the room, but I don't know that he wants to speak for comment or not.
Well, he's really good at public comments. Okay, not hearing anything else. What we will do is we're going to leave public comment open until 1:30. If somebody has or is wanting to speak, please just raise your hand or say something and we'll get to you. Lee, would you be able to potentially get in touch with Mochi to see if she would get on the Zoom to give the overview of what all will be heard on the hearing and what staff is looking to hear?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Are we still in public comment?
We are still in public comment.
Well, this is Greg Wagner, 303 Fish Hatchery. If I may speak again, Mr. Lauren Meager came on and talked about jobs and taxes, and I just received information from the county that Dave McClure cannot tell us how many jobs are going to be at Lund Hill, and Krista Schroeder cannot say how much tax revenue is going to be generated from Lund Hill. So how can Mr. Lauren there talk about all the jobs when we have the largest solar farm in the state of Washington in our county, and they can't even tell us how many jobs or how much tax revenue is going to be generated from it? But yet he's saying how great it's going to be for the county. They don't even have the facts from the solar farm that was approved in August of 2019. That's my only comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. Is there anybody else who wishes to make public comment?
Commissioners, can I make another quick comment regarding another subject? Since no one else is using time.
Sure.
I would like to.
Yes, you may, Sherry.
I would like to continue to keep in the forefront of the county's thought process of the conditional use permit and the appeal fees that are attached to that. And as you know, we've discussed many times that on my end of the county, we are up against a project that is trying to get approved through a conditional use permit. And our fee for under canvas was somehow, lowered, but if the fee that it should have been charged was the $4,000, that's, again, we've talked about this, quite a hit to a tax-paying citizen whose only option at this point is to appeal something that gets approved. So I would like to continue to have discussions regarding the amount of fees that are charged to the applicant versus the amount of fees that are charged to the county taxpayer. And I had found some information saying that the applicant should be charged for the amount of money that it takes our county to help them in, all the processes that our county has to pay. And so again, if we're looking at the amount that the applicant is bringing the project to us, the people who live here, the county, we're not asking the applicant to put their project here. They have asked us to allow them special exemptions, special privileges to do a project, and that's why they asked for a conditional use permit. So to make the county taxpayer pay the bulk to appeal something that we haven't asked for does not feel fair to me. So again, please continue to talk about the fairness of the applicant fee versus the county taxpayer's fee, and keep that in the forefront, because I think that's important. I know that Commissioner Sauter has said that this is to not have frivolous appeals, but when we're talking a Class C over $1 million project, I don't feel that would be frivolous for a community to say, hey, we don't want this conditional use permit. This goes outside this, that, and this and that, as we know projects do. So I'd like some fairness in the appeals situation or in the fees situation, and that we focus on the applicant that is asking to establish in our county versus punishing or penalizing financially the tax-paying citizen that we pay you guys to protect us. So please keep that in your forefront about fairness with appeal fees. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. We are actually keeping that in the forefront of our minds, and we have asked Mochi to keep track of all the time and expenses spent on the SEPA appeal process, as well as the conditional use permit process. And please be aware that there are two separate things. There is a SEPA appeal, and then there is also the conditional use permit. Those two are separate in mind.
Yes, I do know that. Since we are trying to figure out this process, I've emailed county planning to get some information. As you know, our appeal and conditional use permit goes in front of a hearings examiner June 17th and 18th. And as a county citizen, I'm still trying to figure out what do we get to say? What is going to even be heard at this? And that brings us back to the conditional use permit, informing your citizens about what our rights are, how we can protect ourselves and not have a project dumped in our backyard that's the size of Glenwood on 20 acres, which is unbelievable, using all those resources and water that they can't get unless I'm missing something. But yeah, I would like to be informed more on these conditional use permits. And I also found a statement on some county paperwork that said a pre-application conference is required and shall precede the submittal of any project permit application. It may be required that an on-site visit may be prior to the conditional use, but it says a pre-application conference, and it says the characteristics of proposed conditional uses shall be reviewed during the application and public hearing process to determine whether or not the development is appropriate and compatible in a particular location, and what, if any, conditions are necessary to ensure compatibility. So I see right here, it says that conditional use shall be reviewed during the application and public hearing process to determine whether or not the development is appropriate. And we don't have that chance before we're slapped with a newspaper notice saying, hey, guess what? You got a determination of non-significant. Now all you can do is appeal it. So again, I go back to the fairness, the transparency of our county, and telling us when Class Cs are wanting to be in our area, and give us a time, just like the county has time to work with the applicant. Give the citizens a comment period. Give us some time up front. And it's going to save the county a lot of appeal fees. And I'm going to be very interested in how much time it costs our county workers that we pay for to fight this appeal, to prepare for this appeal, because they're not working for the citizens. I asked, what can I do? What do I get to talk about? And I can't be told what my process is. But I guarantee Under Canvas is working real hard for their process in June. And so, it is a little upsetting that you feel like you're being worked against from your own county. So if we had more transparency, the county wouldn't have to spend time and resources and our employees, working to appeal against its own citizens if we were more transparent up front. And then the fees, that needs to be fair too. So I don't want to take up too much time. I think we all know where I'm coming from with transparency, working for the citizens, not for the corporate applicant, and being fair to what happens to our lives for our safety and our welfare and our health and our environment and where we live, where we call home, where we've invested in, where you've invested in. It's important to all of us. And that's why it's important to inform the whole county of the moratorium, because it affects your whole county. So I hope that you guys really do some thinking on what's fair to your citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bosque. Is there anybody else who would like to speak during public comment?
Rosedale Dimick, 55 Tucker Hill Road.
Yes, Ms. Dimmick.
Yes, I was looking through the EOZ and I noticed that under permitted uses, it says that there's no permits necessary for these companies to do their impact studies. And I find that to be kind of concerning because a lot of people live on private roads and they may be experiencing some additional traffic because these testings might be going on. And so it would also be beneficial to be more transparent about these projects, just to raise awareness to these people that might be experiencing additional traffic and they might be, thinking that their safety is being compromised with the additional traffic that they're not used to. But I also just wanted to make a public comment that it is that's not something that they have to seek permits for. And that could be a reason why we would be seeing additional traffic on private roads when we weren't necessarily used to seeing traffic before that. So just wanted to make that known in case people are seeing additional traffic on their private roads. That could be the reason. And that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Dimmick. Is there anything else for public comment? We have 7 minutes remaining. Dan, are you seeing anyone?
Not.
Thank you for checking. Elaine's got her hand raised.
Elaine, yes, please, do speak. Elaine, are you there?
She's still muted.
Sorry, I didn't know I was mute. Elaine Harvey, 435 Hill Road. I just had a question about the Natural Resources Board. When do you guys plan on addressing those positions? And are you waiting for more applications or reassigning the previous people that were on the board?
I guess the easiest thing to say is yes, we're waiting for more applications. I think we only have received 2 and there's far more positions than that. And likely my personal thought is just one of 3 commissioners was that would be a good place that we would discuss the solar ordinances and things of solar nature. But if we're going to go down the solar ordinance path, I think now if we're going the ordinance path, the best place to have those discussions is going to be with the Planning Commission itself, because the Planning Commission will be the recommending authority. So we don't have a whole lot of fire underneath getting that those positions appointed right now.
So if those ordinances were created and put into place for the Night Road substation area, would they be also in the future applied to the rest of the county or the EOZ area? Because I know, and I've heard other landowners in the county already signing other leases, solar leases, and it's expanding quite a bit already. So as you've heard from us many times, there's no solar ordinances in the EOZ that specifically address solar.
And I can only speak for myself as one of 3 commissioners, but if I was to draft a solar ordinance, and what I would support is a solar ordinance that covers all solar projects within the county, whether it's within the EOZ or outside the EOZ. What we're doing is setting standards for certainty that both applicants as well as neighbors would understand, and that would be my personal goal. But again, I'm only 1 out of 3.
And I'm 1 out of 3 with the same goal, so.
Okay. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Elaine. All right, we have 3 minutes left. If anyone has one last public comment before we move on to our regular agenda.
One quick question. Is there a way to find out how much it would cost to do a bulk mailing of probably a small size postcard to each of the voting addresses of the county? Is that something that one of your departments would be in charge of, that we could find out an estimated cost?
Well, the only thing I could think of is our auditor and elections department, as you asked every voting member, they're the ones with the voter rolls. So we would have to talk with Brenda about trying to figure out exactly how many mailboxes. But the problem is that if you're only sending mail to each voting person, that's not bulk mail, that's directed mail, and that gets a lot more expensive.
Okay, then forget that idea. I was just trying to pull out something. Well, so if there's a way that we can get a cost estimate to mail all the citizens in the county, that would be nice to weigh cost of what would be expected for the county to output in its expenses. What are we really looking at? I think there's only 22,000 residents in Klickitat County. So I would be interested if there's a department that can help us maybe figure out what that cost would be. And maybe some citizens, if the county's not willing to do it, maybe some citizens caring about our other citizens and how their life would be directly affected. Some people might be willing to help distribute the word. So, and I would like the county to know what that cost is. I mean, I believe it's your responsibility to inform all your citizens of this important situation that will affect a lot of people down the road if it's not addressed right now as we're looking at the proposals coming into this county. So if we could get a cost on that, I don't know what department that would be, but that would be nice to know. It's just, weighing what the cost is and what the benefit is to your county tax-paying citizens. So what department would that be?
That's a mighty fine question, and we will look into it. Thank you, Ms. Bosquet. All right, it being 1:30, we are going to close the public comment period and move on to the public hearing. We're going to have a bid opening for the designation of the official county newspaper for advertising of all legal notices and delinquent tax lists, as well as all notices to be published by newspapers of general circulation in Klickitat County per the RCW. Dan, would you like to start cutting and let us know?
I will. So first one, envelope labeled Columbia Gorge News. Postmarked on April 2nd. Looks like bid total, wait, nope, that's a subscription total. Cost per column inch, $8. Publication for 1 week is $1.08. Publication for 2 weeks is $2.16. This is for Columbia Gorge News, P.O. Box 390, Hood River, Oregon. Trying to find how many sales there are there.
Distribution.
Yeah. Paid requests outside county mail subscriptions is $21.30. Sales through dealer and carrier, street vendors, counter sales is $72.71. But I all I see is outside county. I don't see anything that says inside county.
Okay.
Oh, mailed in county, 1,571. And then 601 at distributors.
Okay. And is that that was $1.08 is the cost for 1 week, or was that 100?
Back to that page. $108 is the based upon your bid, 1 week period and a 2 week period. So
Okay.
that 108 was $108 was publication for 1 week.
Got it. So 216 because we do everything for 2 weeks usually. All right.
And then $8 a per column inch.
$8 per column inch on top of that. Okay.
Well,
No, that is, I'm sorry, may I give clarification?
there you go.
We mostly look at the dollar per column inch. That's really what
Okay.
the figure that we're looking for.
For our legals anyway.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
The second one is labeled from the Goldendale Sentinel. That's the other one. Well, there's an interesting first statement. Reading the cover, it says, we request that Commissioner Christopher be recused from the process of awarding the official newspaper of Klickitat County. First line of the first paragraph. With that, what would you like me to do, Mr. Chairman?
I think you need to read the bid opening.
Thank you, sir. Okay, paid in county subscriptions, 548. Sales through dealers, carriers, 1434 for a total of 2150. Cost per column inch is $7.50. Publication for 1 week is $45. Publication for 2 weeks is $90.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to have this remanded to the clerk of the board for review and then for decision in 1 week when we have the full board.
I would agree with that. So, Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we give this back to the clerk and make a decision next week.
I will step down and second the motion. Is there any discussion? And Lee, you are the correct person to hand this to, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just wanted to double check. All right, hearing no discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, the public meeting to consider the Planning Commission's recommendation for rezone 2020-01 has been pushed off until next week when we have a full board. Do you have any unfinished business, Mr. Christopher?
No, sir.
I do not as well. All right, we will move on to the consent agenda of 8 items.
I would make a motion that we approve the consent agenda with all 8 items.
I will step down and second the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, do we have anything under miscellaneous reports or comments, Mr. Dan?
Nope, but I'm ready with the bills when you are.
Okay, I didn't know, it's small on my screen. Is the sheriff still in the room?
No, he left shortly after he showed up. He talked to the clerk and then left.
Okay, well, I hope he got what he wanted. Whenever you are ready with the pay warrants, accounts payable.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the accounts payable warrants, the amount of $185,979.72, and the payroll benefit warrants in the amount of $0 for the date ending April 5th, 2021.
I will step down and second the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Continue on, good sir.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the pay estimate number 5 to Justice Systems Corporation in the amount of $37,122.20, which includes sales tax at 7.5%, equaling $2,784.17, and excludes retainage of the amount of $1,856.11 for the total payment amount of $38,050.26 for the Klickitat County Jail Control System Upgrade 2020, number C28420.
I will step down and second the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
The director is now in the room, sir.
Perfect. Well, next on our list is the elected official report update. Is Prosecuting Attorney Cannell on the phone? I don't see him on my screen. Okay. Well, if he signs in, somebody who sees it, let me know. Let's move on to board pending. And we just had the discussion about Mochi. Are you there? Would you like to come up so we can see you?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Mochi. There is quite a bit of confusion, and people have been asking about the hearing on the 4th and what exactly people should be speaking to. Should they be speaking to the moratorium and whether it is an emergency and whether it should be extended throughout the 6 months, or should they be speaking to, I want to see an ordinance, or I don't want solar at all? What is the, to give people the ability, we want to be clear and consistent about what they need to speak to.
Okay, so here I have a copy of the RCW 3670-795. And here a copy for
You need your own?
I have one, thank
Okay.
you. So essentially.
Mochi, could you say that? Could you say that again one more time so that I can look it up?
RCW 36.70.795.
Okay.
So essentially, the public hearing that we are going to have, we are going to talk about the adopted moratorium. So it doesn't really limit it as to whether this is an emergency or if we should have any regulations or anything like that. A copy of the ordinance that adopted the moratorium is now posted on the planning department website. So any public should be able to look at the moratorium. And the public hearing on May 4th is going to take public testimony about the moratorium. So anything related to the moratorium, they can talk about it. The moratorium, in a nutshell, basically saying that we are now not taking any application for any commercial or industrial solar projects subject to a CUP process, a conditional use permit process. And then we gave some rationale in our ordinance, talk about why we have the moratorium in place. And so the public, during the public hearing, they can share, their input. They can let us know why this is a good proposal or a bad proposal. As long as their input is related to the moratorium, then I think they can talk about what they want to talk about in relation to this.
Okay. Commissioner Sauter, do you have, or sorry, Commissioner Christopher, do you have any questions?
Just for clarification from the director, so the people that coming in to testify don't necessarily need to use the words emergency, because if this is being built next to their house that could affect their property values, to them, this is an emergency and deemed for a moratorium. They don't have to, they can talk about solar, they can talk about setbacks, they can talk that they love solar or they hate solar, they can talk about whatever they want to talk about. And we're taking that into account when we decide after the hearing whether we're continuing with the moratorium.
Right, because the board is holding a public hearing to take public testimony.
Right.
And the concern we have by imposing the moratorium is because we want to make sure that we have adequate mitigation in place. So we might already have a system right now that we can handle that or not. And that's the public will have an opportunity to voice their concern, and then the board can take all those under consideration and then make a determination whether to have a commercial or industrial solar near a residential neighborhood would have a substantial impact to the residents. And if so, how can we mitigate,
And now to make sure I have things correct, our mitigation now is our planning director while doing it and the Board of Adjustments and the hearing that takes place in front of the Board of Adjustments, they can also add mitigations, right?
Right, so we will go through the permitting process, including SEPA.
Right.
So SEPA will have its environmental, impacts and mitigations.
And ecology and
Yes.
state ecology will have their say, and you'll have to mitigate for whatever they say.
Right.
And right, okay.
And then the permitting process itself, then we can talk about setbacks and things like that.
Right.
Okay, so the moratorium then is what you'd like people to speak to, is whether the process through a conditional use process whether it can or cannot protect the citizens and the public at large through the mitigation going through a process as it usually would.
Right, because the moratorium right now is we are not taking any application for solar project that is subject to a CUP right now. So this is something that we need to talk about, whether we should, do something different or should we leave some moratorium?
In this public hearing is not, if I'm getting it correct, correct me if I'm wrong, is not necessarily for you to take input as the director. It's for the board, the three of us, to decide what we're going to do. Are we going to do anything? Are we going to change policy? Are we going to make ordinances? Are we not? It's for us to decide, and then we will tell you what to do.
That's correct. That's correct.
No further questions?
So, Mochi, with regards to 3670-795, there's a part in here that says that this section may be effective for not longer than 6 months, but may be effective for up to 1 year if a work plan is developed for related studies providing for such a longer period. So in terms of these related studies or a work plan, if we decided to move towards creating a solar ordinance, would that constitute the related studies that would allow us to extend the moratorium out for a year?
Yes, it will. And then we will need to have a new ordinance to extend the moratorium to a longer time period. And then we'll need to reference those studies or what the work plan is.
Right.
Got it. But right now we have no work plan with regards to an ordinance.
Because we don't know if we're going to create an ordinance till after the hearing and we hear that testimony.
Correct. At least that's how I understand it. All right. Does that help you, Dan, understand exactly where we're sitting?
It does.
Okay, and I hope that also helped our public understand it. If you have any further questions for specifics, I would direct the public to contact Mochi so that she can help explain how the process works. Again, what we are using for the moratorium is RCW 36-70-795. Is there any further discussion, Dan?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you very much, Mochi, for walking over and being here. All right. Have a great day. Okay. Dan, is there anything else you have on board pending?
No, I was just looking one more time to see if the prosecutor was there, but I don't see him, and I don't have anything for board pending. So I can make a motion to adjourn if you don't have anything for board pending.
That would be fine by me.
All righty, I would make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
All right. I will step down and second the motion. Any discussion?
Nope, no workshop.
Hearing none.
So we will see you next week.
And we will see you next week. And thank you all for calling in and phoning in. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to contact the commissioners and we will get back to you as soon as we can. Thank you and have a great day.
All right, bring on that letter. I'm dying to read.